Everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today we're going to play with embossing folders and we're going to do a new technique. I'm not sure if you can see it in there, but we're going to be using embossing folders. So preferably 3D ones if you have them, but embossing folders and Versamark ink, okay, or whatever sticky ink that you have. So if you have like Wow or you have Boss embossing ink, any one of those will work. Ranger embossing ink, any one of them will work. You just need whatever it is that you would use to use embossing powder with. That's what you're going to need. Okay. So the examples that I had made, I used my Simon Says Stamp 3D. Let's see if I can get that over a little bit. There we go. 3D embossing folders. This one is the swirling snowflakes. This one is the filigree snowflake, I believe it's called. And you can just sort of see, now you can see it a little bit better on this one. I think you might get some of the shiny texture a little bit. There you go. Yeah, see where it's shining there? We're creating a bit of a resist using embossing powder, and I'm using a sparkly embossing powder so that it, you can get that glitter, but it doesn't come off, right? Like I can rub this and it's not coming off on my hand or anything like that. So this card in particular, well, it's actually a card front because I had completed all of my cards and discovered that I had glued them on upside down. So yeah, it was a good day. Both of these ones actually. So I had two of them out of the many cards that I made yesterday that I ended up having to redo, or this, I'll have to put this onto a background, but you can't see it here, but down in the creases here is where I've got some of the glitter and everything. So the card in person is really quite beautiful. And then in here, you can see where that white resist is. So that's what we're going to do. And this card I did actually manage to get going the correct way. Yay me. All right, so I'm going to put these ones to the side and I'm going to pull out. So the two that I want to try today are, these are my Simon Says Stamp embossing folders. So this one is called the Pine Tree Meadow. And this one, it appears to have come off, so I'm not sure what it is. But basically, I mean, you've seen it. I've used it before. Yeah, it's not a new to me embossing folder. I really love it. It's got this really beautiful trees in it. And then this one's kind of like this beautiful, again, it's got trees, but it's almost like a lake or an open meadow kind of. Well, that's why it's called a meadow, right? Okay, so let's grab two card fronts. So I'm going to start with white card fronts, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So A2 size. And yeah, okay, so I'm just going to put one to the side here. I'm going to give it a go with this pine tree one first, I think. Okay, now the whole point of the trick here is that you need to find the raised part. So I like, in order to find the debossing side, I usually run my finger across, and whatever my nail, if my nail can catch on it on a raised part, that is the deboss side. See, if I were to turn this around and I run my nail across it, everything here is kind of pushed into the embossing folder. So that means the paper comes up and gets pushed into these crevices here. So my nail doesn't necessarily, like, I can pretty much drag my finger along it, right? Versus if I come along to the back, okay, or the deboss side, see how my finger catches. I'm not adding any more pressure, okay? My finger just catches. So this is the side that we want to use. We're using the deboss side, or the side that sticks up, if you will, okay? Now, what I want to do, you can do this two ways. You can take your pad, your Versamark pad, okay? Mine's pretty dirty, but that's okay, it works the same. And you can just kind of rub it over the top. So you don't want to push it down because we don't want any sticky ink on the background. We just want it on the part that stands up. The other way that this works really well is to take a brayer. Really ink your brayer up really well and then run it across there. Okay, ink up the brayer, run it across. Oops. Ink up the brayer and run it across. And I'm going to do it from the side here because look at how close this tree gets to the background. And I really just want to try and, to the best of my ability, I mean, it's not going to be perfect. We're going to get some spillage, and that's okay. But to the best of my ability, I'm really trying to fully load up as much as possible the area where all of these trees are. Okay? because I want to push as much sticky ink into my paper as possible in order to make this technique work as well as I can. Okay. It's still not going to be perfect. It's going to be subtle. This is not a woo, unless you have really large areas on your embossing folder. This is not going to be like a woo technique. Oh, and I can see here in the light. Don't know if you guys can see that. Let me see if I can pick that up. Okay. So in the light, look at, you can see that shiny area there. So the shiny area is where the ink has landed. So you can see where I've got it in the background of my scene. So I'm just going to take my baby wipe and very carefully, I might not be able to get all of it, but I'm just going to come in and kind of catch that part and see if I can give it a little bit of a wipe off, right? There we go. Okay. Now, I'm going to take my cardstock, and this is, feels like 80-pound accent opaque white. Could be, I don't know. And when you lay your cardstock down, you don't want to move it because you've got glue on here, right? Or not glue, but you've got sticky ink. So you want to try and keep it in place. So I'm just going to put that to the side while I pull out my sandwich. And everybody's sandwich for their embossing machine will be different. So I'm using a Gemini Junior. So that usually means that it's a Gemini Junior plate, my 3D embossing folder, and then a metallic shim, or my metal shim, which is very thin. And so that's going to be that. I'm going to throw this through, and I'll be able to tell by the sound of the machine if it's pushing in or not. Okay, so that felt like it pushed in a little bit, but I can carefully lift that up. I think that I can get a little bit more. So I'm going to add in a couple of pieces of cardstock here. Nope, that's not it. There's some offcuts that I have here. Okay. And a couple of pieces of cardstock just to add just a little bit of thickness, and run it through again. There we go. So I can hear it kind of going. Plus, it also curled the heck out of my shim. So that's usually a pretty good, oops, sorry, that was a little loud for the machine. That's usually a pretty good indication that that was a good press on that one. Okay. So I'm going to pull this out. Now, this is the side where everything was pushed down into. That's the side that should have my ink. Now, if you're concerned about your embossing ink being stuck on your embossing folder or ruining it, just take your baby wipe, give it a bit of a wipe down. Okay. So that's the first one. Now I'm going to add my sparkly embossing powder. Okay. Ooh, there's a lot left on that thing yesterday. All right. So I've just got a card blank here because I don't have this in a particular, usually I have my embossing powders in like little containers, but I don't have a ton of this stuff. So I have the Recollections Sparkle Embossing Powder. So this is a Michaels brand, and you can see that it's got a bit of a purple, like in the light, the iridescent to it kind of shines purple. And then I have this one, which is a Ranger holographic embossing powder, and the iridescence in this one kind of glows green. So because I'm using the trees on this one, or it's supposed to be trees, I'm going to use the greenish more iridescent. Greenish more. That's not good English. Anyway, so now all I'm doing is I'm just pouring the embossing powder over the tree area. Okay. Just going to let that sit for a second, making sure that I'm getting all of the areas where the adhesive or the ink may have been pushed into the paper. Okay. And I'm going to lift that up, give it a bit of a tap. Oh yeah, that's actually pretty good. I don't know. Let me see if I can catch the light. Yeah, you can actually see how much glitter actually stuck in there. Ooh, that's much better than yesterday. Ooh, I'm very excited. Now, if you had found that a lot of because this is what I had to do yesterday on some of this on the snowflakes. If you have a Versamark pen, the other thing that you could do is you could trace some of those lines and have them and then re-put your glitter on top, and it'll stick to that. In the meantime, here, I'm going to, before I do that, I do have a couple of edges here that, so I'm just going to take my paintbrush, just a dry paintbrush, and I'm just going to pull off just a couple of these spaces because I did get some embossing powder in a couple of places I don't necessarily need it. That's pretty darn good. Okay. And on something like this, you don't want to be using, well, you could use your anti-static powder bag if you wanted to, but it makes it difficult for the embossing powder to kind of to stick then to a lot of your image. So before I sneeze, I'm just going to put this back in my in the bottle and put the lid on it because we all know what happens when I don't. Hands up if you were here when I managed to spill that entire container of I think it was embellishments, though. I don't think it was, fortunately enough, it wasn't what do you call it? Embossing powder. Thank goodness, because that would have been a lot. Okay, so before I heat emboss, because I like to heat everything all at once. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to ink up and run this one through again. Now, again, what I need to do is I'm going to run, I want to use the debossed side, so the side that sticks up, because that's what's going to catch all of my ink, right? And on this particular one, so ideally what I would like is the sky. You guys can see that. So the sky background here, and then whatever this meadow lake part is. But this looks kind of like it's a tree or like a tree. This is not a tree. It looks like a sand dune, or it could be like the shore of a lake or something like that. So to me, this is a snowbank, right? So those ones I want to have ink on those particular parts. So the trees and then these kind of snowbanky things. This I want to stay clear, and this part I want to stay clear. So now I've got my embossing. I've got my, sorry, not my embossing. I've got my, so you can see how shiny this is. Let me see if you can see. Yeah, there you go. See how shiny that is. So there's still a lot of embossing ink on here, but that's okay. This is a, I mean, by doing this, you're not using a ton of ink, but these are very small areas to cover. So I want to make sure that I'm getting as much as possible, right? Like that. And I'm seeing quite a bit of shine on these trees, so that's good news. All right, from the side here. Really ink, because I want to do this guy here. Let's see. Now the benefit of using a oh, for goodness sakes, I just had this in my head. Brayer, that's it. The benefit of using a brayer is that it's kind of flat, right? So you get this nice flat edge that catches all of the high points. So you don't get as many of the low points, which is nice. Okay. Catch a little bit more of my snowbank here, because I think when I do the second part of this technique, that is going to look beautiful. Okay, gonna have to do a little bit of cleanup, but that's okay. So I'm gonna put my lid on my Versamark again, and I'm gonna put this over to the side, and I'm gonna bring in my baby wipe and my finger. I'm just gonna go along the edge here, clean that part up like that, and then find another clean spot, and go here on the edge there, and along the bottom. Here. I think I have one right here in the sky. Now, we also need to make sure that we're not just adding water, right? Because the water will also attract the embossing powder. All right, now that. Okay, again, taking my piece of paper or my cardstock, and I'm going to lay this down. And where it lays, I want to try and not move it because, again, the sticky ink will be on that, right? Okay, So let's use the same sandwich because that seemed to work pretty decently. So I'm gonna do that. And this time I'm gonna do this so that everything curls the other way. So and again, you'll have to check your manufacturer's instructions for how to use an embossing folder in your particular machine because every machine is different. That is a guarantee. Oh yes, I see some nice shiny points. So before I go and put anything down, I'm just going to give my embossing folder here a bit of a rub, help take off any Versamark that's left there. Not that the Versamark would hurt anything anyways, but okay. And I'm going to bring in my handy dandy little piece of card here. And I'm gonna, on this one, I'm gonna use the recollections just so we kind of get a difference. Not that they're that different. One just kind of is a more iridescent to purple and the other one is iridescent to kind of a creamy green. Okay, so I am covering my paper here, my cardstock. Take that and kind of walk it down, tap it off, give it a tap. Oh yeah, okay. You know, can you see where it landed in the sunshine and the light? Yeah, I'm gonna have to dry this off, but or emboss it, I think, before you'll be able to see it. But I'm just gonna go in here and I can take my dry paintbrush and just kind of whip away a few of the points where it landed where I may not have wanted it to. I'm actually kind of really liking it in some of these spots because it does look very much like a, yeah, ooh, that's going to be cool. Sorry, I'm tooting my own horn. That's so rude, is it not? But some days, you know, especially when you're crafting by yourself, I know I'm kind of talking to you guys, but technically I'm by myself down here in the basement. And, you know, nobody else is happy for me. So, how is everybody? It is Thanksgiving weekend here in Canada. So, I know for anybody who's joining us from the States, I mean, you guys are usually in November, but ours is quite early. Well, it's not early, it's when it hits for us, which is October, mid October usually. So, and it looks like we're going to have a beautiful weekend. It's a clear, sunny day today. My family will be here today for our meal, and my hubby is making, sorry, I just noticed that there's another piece here. I'm just going to figure that out. He's smoking the turkey, which is so nice. I think I've talked to a couple of people. I think I've told you before that it's so now I'm just going to use my heated tool, which is again not a hair dryer. This gets very, very, very hot. Please don't use it on your hair. It takes a while to heat up, but once it does kick off enough heat to heat up the embossing powder. Now, what I found when I was doing some of these tests is that it's very difficult to watch because it's hard to tell when glitter embossing powder is actually melting because, of course, you don't want to. It's very difficult to see like silver, white, clear. You can see when it changes from the powder into the solid, right? But with the glitter one, uh, it's very difficult to tell. So how I was able to tell yesterday is that all of a sudden the glitter that's in there kind of looks like it's moving. It kind of catches the light just slightly different. That was the only way that I was able to tell, oh, okay, I think that that has actually melted then. So it's not easy, not gonna lie on that one. Anyway, so yeah, so as I can start to see the glitter, it kind of refracts. So I'm assuming whatever the plastic part in embossing powder that melts kind of um shifts the glitter within it, I guess, is what I would say. Okay. Let's see, let's get these parts here. Anyway, I was telling you that my hubby is smoking the turkey, which is so nice because then it leaves me free to do some other things during the day. So I do the side dishes, but he does the turkey. And we have this great thing where my sister-in-law does the desserts, so she'll bring that, and we have a family friend that's coming as well, and they're bringing like a salad. So I'm doing, let's see, sweet potatoes, mashed potatoes. I'll do the stuffing and the gravy, and then we'll also have see what else are we going to have. I'm doing Brussels sprouts in my air fryer, which I'm quite excited about. And then broccoli, because the kiddos like broccoli. And yeah, I think that's it. Quite a bit actually. So it should be, but it should be quite a nice feast. And my sister-in-law makes the best homemade pumpkin pies from pumpkins that she grew in her own garden. Okay, so it's coming along pretty good here. I just have this last little bit. Wow. Makes a difference when you can use these ones that have so much more room on them. Okay, so I don't know if you can see this here. Yeah, there you go. There's the glitter that's now in the tree line. And if I put my finger over it, no glitter coming off, right? So for those of you who really can't stand glitter because it ends up everywhere, I love glitter clearly. But for those of you who can't stand glitter because it ends up everywhere when you're using it, this is a great way of doing this because it's melted. It's now a part of your card. But look at how cool this is. Like I could just do a Merry Christmas on there and call it good or Happy Birthday or whatever, right? Like it's really pretty. Okay, anyway, I'm gonna put this away and we're gonna pull out. I'm actually gonna give my brayer just a bit of a wipe down before any of that kind of sets. So when I'm cleaning my brayer, I use a baby wipe and I'm just gonna go back and forth and you have to spin it, right? And then give it a bit of a wipe like this. And then I'll take it to the, I'll wash it in my sink after I'm done. But this way then it's not like super sticky, just kind of hanging out here. Okay, put that away and reverse smart can go away for now. And now we're going to bring out some inks. So for inks, what you're going to want is you're going to want a dye-based ink. You don't want anything that's going to sit on top, okay, because it's going to resist. So if you're using a pigment-based ink, you could use pigment-based inks, but then it's going to take a lot of time for it to dry on top of this. So you want to, yeah, you're going to want to watch that. So I would recommend not doing it, okay? So the one that I'm going to start with first, I think, is this one here. Okay, just in the same. So I've pulled out some distress inks. So the colors that I think I'm going to use are, let's do these kind of blues. So I want to use the ice spruce, and I've got my green brush here, and I'm kind of doing blues and whatever. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to put those to the side here, and I'm going to ink up my brush like so. A bit of ink. And I'm going to tap off, and I'm going to come from the bottom, and I'm going to start bringing that up. And I'm going to bring the green basically just into the areas where the trees are, right? Because I want that to look green like trees. Okay. Now at the tops though, I don't want to get too dark because that's where I'm going to bring in my blues, right? Okay, so now that I don't want to cross contaminate. So I've pretty much finished. I'm going to keep this brush to the side here, but I do want to wipe this up, give it a bit of a wipe. Okay, now you can see here, look at how that has resisted. Because I was using this kind of brush, this is green, yeah, because I was using this kind of brush, if I was actually just ink blending, my brush would have gone down into all of these areas here. So now if I wanted, I could just leave this like this. It's quite beautiful just as it is. Just with that little bit of color, put on a, Merry Christmas or peace and joy or something to that extent. And I could just leave it like that. But I have bothered to pull out some colors. So why don't we use some of these colors, eh? So because I'm not for sure which color I use last, I'm going to give my brush, I'm just going to rub it off there a little bit. And I'm going to pull out the speckled egg, which is the lightest blue color in the distress line. And I'm going to tap a lot off. I'm going to rub it, tap it off into my lid there, as I usually do. Now, very, very gently, very gently. I'm wanting to bring this up, and I'm just going to add a little bit of color, a little bit of highlight in the area of the sky. And I can bring this in again, and then I'm going to come in from the side. I can hear hubby walking around upstairs. Go. And I can bring that down a little bit if I need. I don't want to bring it too much into the green because I don't want to be like cross-contaminating too much. But I do quite, look at that. Beautiful. So it looks like the trees have a bit of an aura. That's really nice. And I don't even, like, those blended well enough that I don't feel like I need to bring them back and forth in there at all. So now I'm gonna clean off my brush here a little bit, and I'm gonna go to a different color. So for your brushes, if you're using ink brushes, because I have a light blue brush and a dark blue brush, and as long as I'm using them on dye-based inks, all I have to do is wipe them off, and then use them if I need to. If I was using a different type of ink, like if I was using a pigment ink or distress oxides, because they have a pigment in them, I have separate brushes for those. Because if I wanted to try it, because that's a different property in the ink, and that I don't want to contaminate on my brush. So as long as I'm using dye-based inks, you can use the brush, no problem. It doesn't matter what's in there. Wipe it off a little bit, and you're good to go. But if you are switching to a pigment-based ink, I recommend having a different set of brushes. But if you don't, you need to wash these. It's not good enough really just to do that. You need to wash them because the ink travels up the bristles, right? So I do have some ink from yesterday or from whenever I was doing this. It was in the lid here. So I'm just going to pick that up. And now I'm just going to come in. And I want to finish off the sky, and I want it to be a little bit brighter. Not a ton, just a little bit. And I'm going to bring that down into the speckled egg a little bit as well. Not a lot, just a little. There we go. Whoa, look at that. I'm so happy with that. That is so cool. Woo, happy, happy, happy. Okay, I'm going to put that to the side there. Now, I'm going to do this guy. So what am I going to do here? So I think the greens, I'm going to try and bring the green in here. So again, the ice spruce, I'll bring that out. That was a really pretty color. Is this my dark green? Dark green. So I'm just going to take the color that I had dabbed off into the lid because I don't need a lot. And I'm just going to come in, adding a little bit of shading here into the area of my trees. That. I have another tree here. I have another tree, a couple of trees here, like that. A couple of trees here. Okay. Now, technically, I could just leave it like that, right? The rest of it looks like snow. I really like it. However, I do want to add in some of the ridges and whatever. So again, I'm going to come in with my speckled egg. I like the lighter color on this. I think it makes it look soft. Again, I'm cleaning it off because again, I had used with a salty ocean, right? So now I'm just going to bring in, again, still dye-based ink, and I'm going to grab the ink that I had tapped off in here. Come in from the top. Like that, very, very gently. Okay, down a little bit, and then also want a little bit in here. So the color is building up very, very gently, which is the benefit of using bristle brushes like this. They're you can load them up very, very gently, which is nice. Okay. All right. I think I had all of these colors out. I didn't use any of them. Well, I used just these three. Thought I would be doing more. But I really do like this daytime scene. I could have made it much more dark and moody. So you can't see a ton of color there, guys, but just a little bit of green, just the highlight of the blue. I'm really happy with that. Okay, so let's make a card out of these, right? Because you guys do want to see a card. So let's make a card. And, first of all, though, before we go and make a mess, well, let's do that. Because, you know, that's what happens. Now, have I got a card base ready? I don't know if I do or not. Of course not. Why would I have a card base ready? All right. Card base. All right. Shoot. Old folder. We've got this mostly correct here. Yeah. Good. Okay. Now these cards, Michael's, and they're a little short, really. Okay, 4 by 5.5. Okay, so I'm gonna have to trim my panels. So in the one that I think I'm gonna do this one, I think. Yeah, I'm gonna do this one. I'll save that one for later. So I'm gonna bring out my panel. And let's see here. So I need to trim it down to 4. Actually, I want it to be slightly less than 4. But which parts am I going to take off? So I'm going to do here. And let's say it was 5.5, right? Okay. Let's trim the other side. So essentially, I want my panel to be then 3 3/4 by 5 1/4 is what I want in order to have it look complete and give a nice little border. There we go. Okay. And that aside. So here's what it's going to look like. Let's make sure, okay, I've got it opening the right way. Okay. That's going to be, it's going to be a very, very soft card, which I'm not too sad about, but maybe what I will do is dry brush or chalk around the edge, just to give it a nice finished edge. It's going to make it look a little more rustic. So this is a Colorbox Cat's Eye. You can't really get them anymore because Colorbox has gone out of business, unfortunately. This is a chalk-based ink, which is the fastest. If you remember the ABCs of chalk-based inking, or the CDPs, right? So chalk really, really quickly dries, which makes it really wonderful for edging your paper or your cardstock or your card or whatever it is that you're using. Okay, so now I'm just going to adhere my panel down, and this one doesn't have, well, because I cut the edges there, there's not a ton of warping from when it went through the embossing. I just want to make sure that I'm getting liquid adhesive all over the bottom, the back of it though, so that it's catching in all of those areas. So the adhesive that I'm using is Barely Arts adhesive. Let's see here, let's go up a little bit. There we go. There we go. There we go. Okay. Give that a rub from the back. So, so you can see just that hint of brown around the edge there and how that helps pop it off the back. And then for my sentiment, I think I have, well, I have 2 Merry Christmases here. I have this one, which is quite big and covers up quite a bit of it. I think I actually want to use this one. And I like that it's got the, because I can do right here. Yeah, that's actually quite nice. What do you guys think? I could also do right here along the bottom. Oh yeah, no, I like it right along the bottom there because it gives everything up above. So I've still got all my seam and everything. Yep, let me do it right there. All right. So this is a die that I have that has the Merry Christmas, and then it's also got the shadow. So I've got it. This is iridescent or nope, not iridescent. Oh, just shiny cardstock. There's another word for it, but it escapes me at the moment. Welcome to menopause. And then just with vellum as the shadow. So it kind of gives it a nice grounding, but still allows it to have that little bit of pop so that it's not fully comes off of the background just a little bit. So now I'm just going to add little bits of glue or adhesive behind my sentiment, so you can kind of See where I've just done the little hints of glue and whatever there so that it can pop up. And I'm going to keep the brown underneath so that it looks finished. There we go. I'll hold that in there for a second so that it adheres. There we go. All right. Now, if I wanted, I could add a couple of jewels in order to do like a couple of snowflakes or something like that coming down. But I think this would be a really excellent, if I don't put anything else on it, I think this would be an excellent masculine card for Christmas, right? Here, this one as well, right? Like, look at how nice. Now, if we were going to finish this off, poof, Merry Christmas, just like that. Really nice up there. Could also go up top here as well. And that's really nice as well. I like to do this one. I have some uh, foiled sentiments that I've done with my foiling machine that cuts out and everything like that and has peace and joy. I really love doing that one, or glad tidings as well. That's just a really small one. It fits right in here really nicely. I really love doing that one with this particular embossing folder as well. Okay, guys, well, that's going to be our class today. Let me bring out the examples of what we had done or what I had done previously. Okay, so these are the three that I had done before. But these are the ones that we completed today. But look at how cool that is. Yeah. Anyway, I'm really happy with that. If you have any questions or something didn't make sense, or if you have any requests too of anything that you'd like to see me working on, please do put them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Fanberta, please keep it kind. And I will see you guys in the next video. Happy Thanksgiving, whenever you're watching this. Talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.